What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to Fresh Review. If you're new to the channel, what we do here is we review each and every game of the NFL season. Right now, we are reviewing Week 12 of the NFL season. In the background, we have what I consider to be the game of the week. The Dallas Cowboys take on the Washington Commanders in a CPU simulated game. That's the footage in the background. But this week started off with another great game, a game of the week contender. That the Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Cleveland Browns. And oh my goodness, I want to talk about Jameis Winston for a moment. My boy is out here cheesing in the pregame interview from ear to ear like it's picture day. He's happy as snowing. It's a winter wonderland, and it's in November currently. And he's just happy as all get out. And the Browns win this game at home. They defeat their divisional rival because Nick Chubb gets some revenge. You guys remember last year, Nick Chubb had a nasty knee injury. Mika Fitzpatrick tackled him low. And, Nick Chubb's a big guy, so you kind of got to go low on him to get him down. But, unfortunate knee injury. Nick Chubb injures his knee, tears multiple ligaments and stuff. Comes back here, and he gets the game-winning TD. He got 2 TDs this game, so solid scoring-wise from Nick Chubb. Not the best game from him. He had 20 carries for 59 yards, but he had 2 TDs, including the go-ahead one that won them the game ultimately. Jameis Winston, the cheese ball, the cheeser, goes 18 for 27, 219 yards, and an interception, but he got the team down the field, got them the game winner, let them down for the game winning drive. Jerry Jeudy, their big wide receiver pickup in the offseason, he has a solid game here, 6 catches, 85 yards, he leads the way for them. And he's been stepping up with Jameis Winston at the helm and with Amari Cooper being in Buffalo. He has been looking like a solid wide receiver one for this team. Cedric Tillman has been stepping up as well. So the Browns look like they have a solid offense with Jameis Winston at the helm. On the flip side, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson, this is his first loss as the starter for this team. He has a solid game here. He is 21 to 28, 270 passing yards, 1 TD, 0 interceptions, 0 turnovers. Najee Harris struggled on the ground, only 16 carries for 41 rushing yards. Jalen Warren was better. He had 11 carries for 45 rushing yards and a TD. Justice Fields also came in and showcased his legs. He had a 30-yard run this game. And then receiving-wise, Calvin Austin had caught a 46-yard deep ball from Russell Wilson. If the ball was thrown a little bit better, it could have been a 70-yard TD, but he had to slow down to catch it. He also did get a TD later on in the game. He led the way for the Steelers with 3 catches and 78 receiving yards. They needed one more catch from him or somebody else, though, because they came down to a Hail Mary at the very end. They just couldn't get it. Grant Delpit knocked the ball out, and the Cleveland Browns win 24 to 19. And what I thought was an amazing game. 92 out of 100 is why I'm giving this one. Our next game was another game of the year candidate, and it could have been the game of the week, but I didn't want to really show the Bears twice, right? I'm not going to lie to you. The Bears twice is crazy. I actually do think the Cowboys Commander game was slightly better, but we will talk about the Vikings take on the Chicago Bears, and what a game this was, because the Vikings, they were up most of the game, and I thought the game was kind of over, until the Bears score a late touchdown, recover an onside kick, then get in field goal range to tie the game and force overtime. Then they will win the coin toss and get the ball first, but unfortunately they weren't able to capitalize. They ended up going 3 and out, and then the Vikings went down the field slowly, methodically, and then got into field goal range, kept the game in the field goal, and won 30 to 27, which was an absolute thriller. The Bears are allergic to winning. I had to say it. They were 4-2. They're on a 5-game losing streak, and if you look at some of these losses they had, absolutely heartbreaking, gut-wrenching. This one was no exception. Caleb Williams this game goes for 340 passing yards, 2 TDs. Both of the TDs went to his wide receivers. DJ Moore got one of them. Keenan Allen got the other one. They had a solid game. They combined for 1,600. They combined for 16 receptions and almost 200 receiving yards. Cole Kmet was right there. He had a solid game here. 7 catches for 64 yards. DeAndre Swift didn't get much going on the ground. Caleb actually outrushed him 33 yards to 30. So they had to rely on Caleb this game, and Caleb showed up and showed out. For the Vikings, though, Sam Darnold still plays at a high level here. A sneaky little MVP candidate. Of course, he's not finna get any votes. It's Sam Darnold. Who's running Sam Darnold on the MVP ballot? Get out of here. But he goes for 330 passing yards and 2 TDs as well. Aaron Jones, though, goes over 100 rushing yards, 106 to be exact, with a rushing TD. He also snags 3 catches for 23 yards, but Jordan Addison balled out this game, was a potential cover athlete candidate. He had 8 catches, 162 yards, and a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson, coming back from his injury and stuff, he goes for 114 yards, 7 catches, so the best game since he has returned. Justin Jefferson, shadowed by Jalen Johnson most of the game, shut down. Only 2 catches for 27 yards, but the Vikings still get the job done, and they win a spectacular game, 98 out of 100. Is what I am grading this divisional matchup. Now we're going on to our next game. Now the Detroit Lions take on the Indianapolis Colts. Now the Lions get 3 rushing TDs this game, and they shut down the Colts, and the Lions continue their win streak, so they only have 1 L on the year. Who's the number one team for you guys? Is it the Detroit Lions or is it the Kansas City Chiefs? They, they both have the same record and been at the top of their conference for a majority of the season. But the Lions, to me, got to be the number one team because same record, both top of the conference, but they just been dominating, man. Now, granted, you could say the Kansas City Chiefs, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, they should get the benefit of the doubt because it'll always seem like they turn it up another notch in the postseason. So, there's that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below because this is another dominant display from the Detroit Lions. They were able to shut down the Colts. Anthony Richardson went 11 for 28 passing, 172 yards. Jonathan Taylor only averaged 3 yards per carry, so they shut him down. Anthony Richardson averaged 6 yards per carry. A lot of those are scrambles and stuff. But 10 carries, 61 yards. Solid game there, rushing wise for Anthony Richardson, but not so much for Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman led the way for them with 6 catches, 96 yards, and nobody else really got anything going. Alex Pierce had a 39-yard catch, but other than that, there is no other big play this team made. Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor both fumbled, but they also did recover their fumble. And then on the flip side, we got the Detroit Lions, perhaps the best team in the league. Jared Goff, 269 passing yards. No touchdowns because they got all their touchdowns on the ground. Jahmyr Gibbs got 2 of them. He had 90 rushing yards on 21 carries. David Montgomery got the other one, 37 rushing yards, 1 TD. And then passing wise, the ball is distributed well. Multiple wide receivers got 3 catches or more. So overall, the Lions do what they got to do here, win a game that they're just better than the Colts from start to finish, offense, defensively, everything in between. I thought this was a well below average game. I'm giving it a 39 out of 100. Now for our next game, we got the New England Patriots take on the Miami Dolphins, another divisional matchup similar to the Browns Steelers one before it. And this one was interesting because first quarter 0-0, then the Dolphins just come out and they explode in the second quarter and they score 24 points, so they take a 24-0 lead into halftime. Tua finished this game with 317 passing yards, 4 passing TDs. This is the best game of Tua's season so far. Devon Achane only gets 32 rushing yards on 10 carries, but receiving wise, he gets 2 receiving TDs, 3 catches, 24 yards. Jalen Waddle, best game of the season for him, without a doubt. 8 catches, 144 yards, and a TD. Now he's showing that, yeah, he can live up to that contract. We look at somebody like Johnny Smith, though, getting better and better as the season goes on. 9 catches, 87 yards, and a TD for him as well. So, Miami Dolphins take care of business, beat the New England Patriots, who they are way better than. The Dolphins are going to try to make a push into that playoff spot. They're 5-6 now. We're going to have to see. Those games without Tua could have hurt them drastically, but they're 5-6. They're 1 game away from 500. And they can get to 6-6, 7-6, one game at a time. Probably get 10 wins or so. I think they got a good shot at making the playoffs. But good game here by the Dolphins. On the flip side, we got Drake May. He goes for 222 passing yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. Okay game from him. Didn't get much going on the ground to help him. And then, they got routed 24-0, so, they're trying to pass more. Ramondre Stevenson, 8 carries, 13 yards. Not a good performance for him. Antonio Gibson, on the other hand, 6 carries, 31 yards. A little bit better there. But they just don't have a number one wideout. Demario Douglas led the way this game with 5 catches, 62 yards. I like Demario Douglas, but he should not be your number one wide receiver. They just have nobody over here for him to throw the ball to. The Patriots even fell down to 31-0, and they almost came back, or at least brought a little bit of attention when Christian Gonzalez had a 63-yard scoop and score. And then the Patriots went for two to keep it a two possession game. That cut down to 31-15. But then when Jason Sanders hit a 50-yard field goal, the game was well over. But I thought this game was also well below average. I'm getting a 31 out of 100. Now going on to our next game. Bears take on the New York Giants. So the Giants versus the Bucks. In this game, we got Baker Mayfield dealing yet again. 294 passing yards. Didn't get a single touchdown, but he did get a rushing TD, and he leaped in for that one. He earned that rushing TD, and then did the Tommy DeVito celebration. Now Tommy DeVito, on the other hand, he had 189 passing yards, 0 TDs as well, 0 rushing TDs. So Baker did diff him at the quarterback position, but that's what you expect. But let's talk about this running back stuff. Rashad White, 12 carries, 37 yards, and a TD. But Bucky Irving, 12 carries, 88 yards, and a TD. So Bucky Irving is the best running back, in my opinion, on this team. Bucky Irving also has 6 catches, 64 yards. So Bucky Irving's doing it on the rushing and receiving aspect. Rashad White's also a solid receiver of his own, but Bucky Irving's showing that sky's the limit for this guy. Sean Tucker, their third running back, also got a TD. So they have 4 rushing TDs this game, all by different players. Then Mike Evans, can he get to 1,000 yards? That's the question. He missed so many weeks, so much time for that hamstring injury. So he's behind the 8 ball now. He didn't have a great game here, so he's behind pace. If he keeps this pace up, he won't get it. He had 5 catches, 68 yards. So he needs to average about 95 yards per game, if my math is correct, to get it. So we'll see if he gets it by the end of the year. Then go back over to the Giants. Tyrone Tracy, 9 carries, 42 yards there for him. Devin Singletary, 2 carries, 3 yards, but he did get the rushing TD. Tyrone Tracy is the best running back in this backfield, without a doubt. I'm curious to see what the Giants do next year because it's such a deep running back class. If they draft another running back, I think Tyrone Tracy is a really solid running back, but I don't want to give Tracy 80% of the snap count. I'm not sure he's that good. If not, I think they should draft a running back personally, especially if they draft a quarterback. Get a star running back to help your quarterback, take some of the pressure off him. I think Tyrone Tracy is a good RB. I would like to give him like 40% of the snap count, but right now he's operating about 80%. I think that's too much. Mainly because his ball security has been a concern for me. It's another fumble this game, another lost fumble. Malik Neighbors also fumbled, but that one was recovered. And Malik Neighbors had another solid game here for a rookie. 6 catches, 64 yards. That's a really good game for a rookie. But we're used to what Neighbors is doing early on in the year with Daniel Jones. I'm not sure Neighbors will be able to get to that production yet again because, Daniel Jones like a D-tier quarterback. Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, F-tier. So I don't know if they make a switch to Drew Lock or anything like that. But this game overall was not a good game. It was a bad game. I'm getting this one a 22 out of 100. So now we're going on to our next game, which is the game of the year candidate in the game of the week, the one you see in the background. Dallas Cowboys take on the Washington Commanders. And this game wasn't very entertaining the first 3 quarters. But the final 8 minutes, oh my goodness. So the final 8 minutes, it was 10-9. Then Brandon Aubrey made a field goal. Right, that extended the Cowboys' lead. The final score of this game, remember, 8 minutes in, 10-9, was 34-26. It was non-stop action down in the fourth quarter. The Cowboys score a TD that extends their lead to 20-9. It was like the game's over. Commanders get a quick touchdown, and they go for a 2-point conversion. They get it. It makes it 20-17. The Dallas Cowboys take the kickoff to the house. Kevontae Turpin hits a spin move, puts the whole team in the blender, and then runs down the left sideline. A 99-yard kickoff return. They extend their lead. They make it 27-17. The Commanders go down the field within a minute. They kick a 50-yard field goal. They cut it down to 27-20. They get a stop. They get the ball back. And there's only 30 seconds left. What do? A 86-yard TD bomb Jaden Daniels throws to Terry McLaurin. The game is 26-27. They're going to kick the field goal. They're going to force overtime. PAT, force overtime. The kicker misses the field goal. It is 26-27. They got to go for an onside kick. They go for the onside kick. And Junior Thomas, if I said that correct, or Wanye Thomas, 43-yard scoop and score on the onside kick. And that actually gave the Commanders a little bit of time to try to make a play, but they weren't able to do anything at the end. What a game this was, though. He actually should have went down on the kickoff return. Well, on the onside kick. He should have went down at the one or just got it and went down immediately. But he scored the TD. Gave the Commanders a little bit of time, but it didn't backfire or anything. Oh my goodness, what a game that was. That had to be very exhilarating. You're a Cowboys fan. Very heartbreaking. You're a Commanders fan. Now you fall to 7-5, and now your playoff hopes are in disarray. Perhaps it's on the brink now. It's such a loaded NFC North where it's like they're gonna get three teams in the playoffs. Like they're gonna get the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers. Look like they're gonna make it as well. So you're looking at one final playoff spot, and the Falcons are right there flirting with it. So the Commanders losing a game to the Cowboys, falling to 7-5, back-to-back L's. It is very concerning. I thought they were a good team. I didn't expect for them to lose to the Cowboys. So Cowboys get this game with Cooper Rush at quarterback because Dak is still out. Cooper Rush finished this game with 247 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Solid game for him. Rico Dowdle led the way on the ground, 19 carries, 86 rushing yards. He's getting all the workload here, and he's actually producing at a solid level. I think they do draft a running back, but I think Rico getting 40% of the snap count, 50% is out of the equation. And maybe Jerry Jones being so bad, he might ride Rico for another year, and he might be getting 80 to 9% of the snap count again. I'm not sure, but Rico been solid. CD Lamb, they leaned on heavy. He had 10 catches, 67 yards. And then on the flip side, we got Jaden Daniels. He goes for 275 passing yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. Rushing wise, he had 7 carries, 74 rushing yards. So he had almost 350 total scrimmage yards, 349 to be exact. And 3 total touchdowns. Solid game by him, and you count his rushing TD. But the interceptions, you hope that doesn't happen. He normally takes good care of the ball. Unfortunately, had 2 this game. Another thing, Austin Eckler got popped on the kickoff return. He fumbled the ball there, but they did recover it. But it looks like he might be out for a while with a concussion. So I think they put him on IR, so hopefully he can make it back in time for the playoffs, because that'd be the end of the regular season if he misses the next 4 weeks. And then we're looking at Terry McLaurin, who was held silent most of the game, but did have that big 86-yard TD. Besides that, he had 4 catches for 16 yards. So for fantasy, that one play got him from like 5 fantasy points to 20. That one play popped him off heavy. And then Zach Ertz had the other TD as well for this team. Noah Brown had 6 catches, 71 yards. So Noah Brown being a solid wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 for this team, right behind McLaurin. But what a game this was. It reminded me so much of the Ravens vs. Viking game that happened like over a decade ago. That's so entertaining. Where they're just touchdowns after touchdowns after touchdown. The final few minutes of the game was like non-stop actions, plot twist after plot twist. Like one of those type of movies. Man, the game was absolutely spectacular. I'm getting a 99 out of 100. Now we're going on to our next game. The City Chiefs take on the Carolina Panthers. And oh my goodness gracious. The Carolina Panthers gave the Chiefs all they could handle and then some. What a game this was. So the Chiefs, they take an early lead. They're up 20-9. Then in the fourth quarter, they take a 27-16 lead going into it. But the Carolina Panthers end up tying the game up late under the 2-minute warning. But Patrick Mahomes had to be heroic. Got the team in the field goal range to kick the game-winning field goal to win 30-27. But man, a tie game with 2 minutes left with the Panthers. I don't know if the Chiefs are fraudulent or the Panthers are that legitimate. We're going to find out next week. The Eagles do play the Panthers. So if the Panthers keep it close within, I give them some credit. Maybe the Panthers are legit. But we shellac the Panthers. And I ain't worried about the Chiefs. I ain't worried about the Chiefs whatsoever. If we play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I think we're going to roll and get some revenge, right? You saw what we did to Thomas. We saw him the second time in the Super Bowl. That's what we're going to do to Mahomes. But let's talk about the Chiefs and Mahomes here. Mahomes, 269 passing yards, 3 passing TDs. Also, 33-yard run at the end of the game. Got the Chiefs well into the field goal range. He had 5 carries for 60 yards. Mahomes is the master. Pretend like he's going to run out of bounds. Pretend like he's going to slide. Doesn't do anything so you don't pop him. But then you touch him when he's like still in bounds. They still cry for flags. And sometimes they get him. It's Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. The referees are on the payroll, but that's a different story. Kareem Hunt here doesn't score a touchdown. Like the first time I think all year he hasn't scored a rushing TD in the games. 16 carries, 68 yards here. He doesn't even get one receiving wise. But Noah Gray, Travis Kelce's heir apparent, gets 2 receiving TDs this game. 4 catches, 66 yards. Travis Kelce is right behind him though. 6 catches for 62 yards. So the tight end duo was elite here. I can't wait to see what Noah Gray does next year, because I think Travis Kelce will retire after this year. DeAndre Hopkins gets the other TD. 5 catches, 35 yards for him. On the flip side, we go over to the Carolina Panthers, and Bryce Young, decent game for him. 263 passing yards, 1 TD, no interceptions. That's solid. He also got 20 rushing yards on the ground. Chuba Hubbard, 58 rushing yards on 16 carries, so not madly efficient, but he did get the game time TD. Jonathan Brooks, first game back, they're trying to ease him in. He gets 2 carries here, 7 yards, so I'm curious to see what the workload will be in the future. Chuba Hubbard has been balling. So although I do expect Jonathan Brooks to get more and more workload, I'm not sure he would become the starter this year. Maybe next year he'd get the starting role, but I think by the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised I saw Chuba Hubbard still maintaining a 60-40 split with him having the advantage. Now, wide receiver-wise, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen both go over 50 receiving yards. Jatavion Sanders gets 49 receiving yards. But Jatavion Sanders suffers a nasty injury here where he gets flipped upside down, lands on the top of his head. Actually, one as scary as that one. That's a scary injury, so hopefully he makes a full recovery, full and speedy recovery. And then wide receiver-wise, the one that actually did lead the way was David Moore. He had 6 catches, 81 yards, and a TD. So, overall, very great game. I thought it was amazing. I'm giving it a 93 out of 100. Carolina Panthers, way to fight. Even when you lose, you're not a bad team when you stop getting shellacked. They're able to score. They're able to move the ball down the field now. Although they're 3-8, they're a decent squad now with Bryce Young coming back. So, benching Bryce Young seems like it was one of the best things that could have happened for him. Seems like he did learn some things behind Andy Dalton, and I'm curious to see what this team does next. Now, for our next game, we have a divisional matchup. The Tennessee Titans take on the Houston Texans, and the Titans go on the road and win a game 32-27. And this game came down, it was 30-27, and the Texans need to go down the field, get a game-time field goal or a game-winning touchdown. It's probably going to be a game-time field goal with a minute and some change left. But I did not have this on my bingo card for 2024. This man, C.J. Stroud, pulls a Dan Orlovsky bout near and runs out the back of the end zone. Now, you could say he got tackled out of bounds. If you pause it, freeze frame it, maybe he stepped out of bounds before the tackle happened. It definitely was a safety, though, either way. But I'm like, C.J. Stroud, I know the O-line's that bad. But is it really that bad, if that makes sense? Like, we running out of bounds. We're seeing ghosts. My boy was ready to take off for his life. We ain't stepping in no pocket. We ain't. My boy was running for his life out of bounds. Somebody help this man. Now, I want to say C.J. Stroud took a step back this year. But as I watch this team more and more, I'm like, man, the O-line is bad. Because they got another penalty that took away a C.J. Nico Collins touchdown. Actually, it might have been a Joe Mixon, actually. Never mind. I think it was Joe Mixon this time. But last week, they also got a penalty that took away the touchdown for Nico Collins. I want to say Joe Mixon was illegal formation. Dang, I really can't remember who got the penalty. But Nico had 1 TD, 5 catches, 92 yards. Guy had another one. Tank Dell had 3 catches for 72 yards, so a big play there. And then we go over to the other side here. We got the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis, 278 passing yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Tony Pollard, 24 carries, 119 rushing yards, and a TD. So Tony Pollard, 5 yards per carry, very efficient game for him. There's no Tyjae Spears to relieve him, so it's just Tony Pollard show this game. And then we look at Calvin Ridley. He goes for 5 catches, 93 yards. That led the way for receiving yard-wise, but Chiggy had the play of the game when he took a catch, his only catch, 70 yards for a touchdown. It's like a blown coverage. And then some of the Texans were jogging, like they didn't really want to go tackle this man. So Chiggy just used his speed and went right down the middle of the field and outran everybody into the end zone. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is looking like an infinite money glitch. This man scores another TD. I don't know what his prop lines are on Underdog, but right now it's getting to the point, just take Nick Westbrook-Ikhine anytime TD, and that's good money. Now, Will Levis also did fumble this game, and they did lose the fumble. So, 2 turnovers for him. Same with Stroud, who also had 2 turnovers. His were both interceptions. So, battle of mid. I won't lie to you. The battle of mid, but it truly was a great battle of mid. I'm getting this one 89 out of 100. Now, on to our next game. The Denver Broncos take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, another solid game here by Bo Nix. He goes for 273 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Running-wise, they don't really get much going. This is the Denver Broncos. They don't really have a solid running back. I can't wait for them to draft a running back in this draft class. They also need a tight end, perhaps, because Cortland Sutton is definitely a solid number one wideout. I had my doubts about him after he tore his ACL. He looked like he was going to be a Pro Bowl perennial guy early on in his career. Tore his ACL. Hasn't been the same since then, but maybe it's been the quarterback play. Maybe it's been something else. I don't know what exactly, but he's having one of the best years of his career. He has 8 catches, 97 yards this game, 2 touchdowns. And rushing wise, like I said, they don't ever get much going. But they had Jaleel McLaughlin goes for 7 carries, 44 yards. Javonte Williams, 8 carries, negative 2 yards. And his longest carry was a 7-yard gain. So you take away that one long run, 7 carries, negative 9 yards for the rest of the game. Not a great showing there by Javonte Williams whatsoever. And I was so high on him coming out of college, but that's another guy that tore his ACL. Hasn't been the same since. Now we go over to the defensive side of things, and I also want to talk about Will Lutz. 5 for 5 on field goals. Great game here by him. The Broncos were able to move the ball, get into field goal range. Weren't able to score until the second half. We'll score a touchdown until the second half. That's where the Cortland Sutton TDs happened. But Will Lutz kept them in this game until the offense finally got clicking on all cylinders. So they won this game 29-19. Go to the flip side. We got the Las Vegas Raiders here. Gardner Minshew got the start this game, but I can't remember if he got injured or benched. Gardner Minshew had 230 passing yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. He might have got benched here, but if he did get benched, he got benched for Desmond Ridder, who went 5 for 10 for 64 passing yards. So I'm not sure who was better there or whatever the case may be, but the Raiders didn't have a great running game, and they are missing Zamir White and Alexander Madison, who both been injured. So Sear McCormick and Amir Abdullah got to start this game. Amir Abdullah had 5 catches, 37 yards, and a receiving TD. On the ground, he had 8 carries for 28 yards, so he seemed solid. Sincere McCormick had 5 carries for 33 yards, didn't get a catch. But receiving-wise, this game went to Jacoby Myers. You never know who it's going to be between the Raiders, but Trey Tucker is the number 2 option, which I thought was kind of surprising. Brock Bowers only had 4 catches, 38, but normally it's between Bowers and Myers. And, one of them usually get there, sometimes both of them, but Myers is the one that got his this game. Myers had 10 catches, 121 yards, and Trey Tucker had 7 catches for 82 yards. So both the quarterbacks for the Raiders fumbled, Minshew and Ridder, but Ridder lost his fumble. Minshew was able to recover his, and they lost this game 29-19. So I think the Raiders are in that position at a 2-9 record. They will be drafting Shedeur Sanders in the draft at the bet, using one of their early draft picks on Shedeur Sanders. I wouldn't be surprised they finish as the first overall pick here. And I think this would be a solid landing spot for Sanders. Playing in a dome, you got Bowers, you got Myers. It's okay. So solid enough O-line. You just got to draft you a running back. Maybe another piece or two on the O-line, but not a bad landing spot in my opinion. Got Max Crosby on defense to help you out, but overall I thought this game was very, very mid. I'm giving it 52 out of 100. Now we're going on to our next one, which is the 49ers take on the Green Bay Packers. This is a rematch from last year's NFC Divisional Round matchup. And the Niners got shellacked. The Packers, this is a grudge match for them. Jordan Love here goes for 163 passing yards, 2 TDs. Didn't have to do too much this game because Josh Jacobs ran all over him. He was in the lead for the cover athlete conversation. He had 26 carries, 106 rushing yards, 3 rushing TDs. So, didn't get a catch or anything like that, but 3 TDs, 100 yards. I think the Niners, is safe to say, it's over for them. Receiving-wise, the Packers don't really do much here. The dude that led the way with Romeo Dobbs, 3 catches, 54 yards. Everybody else had 26 yards or fewer or 2 catches and fewer. So, this is one of those games they spread it out well when they did pass, but mainly just ran the ball, and ran the ball over the Niners because they was up most of this game. We go flip over to the Niners. Christian McCaffrey has not looked good coming off that injury. My boy Dan told me I should trade this man. It's now the playoffs. I can no longer trade this man. I am stuck with Christian McCaffrey, but I still believe. I believe he can get right, maybe. I'm not sure exactly, but he goes for 11 carries, 31 yards. I think the Niners' window might be closed. Receiving-wise, McCaffrey gets 3 catches, 37 yards, but he doesn't look the same. George Kittle, though, somebody that's still producing no matter what. 6 catches, 82 yards, and a TD here for George Kittle. Brock Purdy was out this game, so it's the Brandon Allen show. So that explains why this game was so bad. Brandon Allen goes for one passing TD, one interception, nearly 200 total. 200 passing yards. He had 199. You kind of his rushing yards. He went over 200 total yards, but he fumbled twice this game, and they lost one of them. McCaffrey also fumbled, and they lost that fumble. So this game was just a disaster from start to finish for the Niners. I thought this game was awful. I really did. I'm giving this one 16 out of 100. Now on to our next game. Another important game, another divisional matchup. We got the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. There've been a lot of divisional matchups this week. And this game here, the Seahawks won 16-6. Wasn't very entertaining for a game. I thought these offenses would have been better, right? I don't think either of them had an insanely good defense. Seattle was a little bit better than Arizona's, of course, but I thought this game would have been much better. So these teams will meet again in a couple weeks. And this game right here was for the division lead. That game in a couple weeks could also be for the division lead. And I'm expecting that game to be much better than this one because this is not very entertaining at all. The Cardinals got nothing going offensively. They got 2 field goals and that's it. The Seahawks got they got 2 touchdowns, but only 1 offensive touchdown. Kyler Murray threw a pick 6 to Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant came up clutch with a 69-yard pick 6. But other than that, their only other offensive TD was JSN getting a 3-yard pass from Geno Smith. Wasn't a very entertaining game. The Seahawks, Geno Smith finished with 254 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He got sacked 5 times. And one of those sacks were strip sacks because he did fumble. On the cart, my bad. Let's keep going about the Seahawks. Kenneth Walker, 16 carries, 41 yards. Not too much going for him on the ground there. Nothing really entertaining in this game. JSN, like I said, did get the 3-yard TD, but he also got a 46-yard catch. He had 6 catches, 77 yards on the for the day. That led the Seahawks in all categories. So, not an entertaining game. On the Cardinals side, they didn't get much going. Kyler Murray, 285 passing yards. That interception to Kobe Bryant was a complete head-scratcher of a play. I don't know what Kyler was thinking there when he got thrown the ball away. But James Conner didn't get much going on the ground. He had 7 carries for 8 yards. But he did get some good work out of the receiving game. He had 5 catches, 41 yards there. But Trey McBride, man, this dude is an absolute baller. 12 catches, 133 yards here for him. Still no touchdowns. So 12 catches, 0 TDs. I don't know how many catches it's been on the year, but there might be a chance he gets 100 catches, over 1,000 receiving yards, and does not score a TD all season long. That is insane. This man is balling, though, but still, 0 TDs is 0 TDs. But he wasn't alone because nobody on this offense in this game could score except for JSN. So, overall, I thought this was I thought the game was below average. And the only reason I'm getting that high of a grade because it's at least close and it's a divisional matchup with a lot of stakes on the line. I'm getting a 41 out of 100. Now we're going on to our next game. You guys see the cover athlete, Saquon Barkley, the real MVP. And, I normally don't like to do 2 teams, right? There's so many teams in the NFL. There's more teams than weeks. So ideally, I would do 1 team per cover athlete, right? So every team gets 1. But I already did 2 for the Saints, Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. They won't get another one all year, most likely. I definitely don't want to do 2 for the same player unless there's a playoff one. But Saquon deserves it, man. How could I not put Saquon on here after what he did against the Rams? Let's go ahead and dive into it. Coming out of halftime, let's take it 70 yards to the crib. We need to run out the clock to end the game. Let's take that 70 yards as well to the crib. Saquon Barkley sets an Eagles franchise rushing record with 255 rushing yards. Oh my goodness. And he's on pace to break Eric Dickerson's rushing record. So will he get it? We'll have to wait and see. But you count what he did receiving wise. He gets 4 catches for 47 yards. So 302 total scrimmage yards here for Saquon Barkley. What a game for him. A.J. Brown receiving wise, 6 catches, 109 yards, and a TD. Jalen Hurts goes for 179 passing yards and a TD. So A.J. Brown got like 60% of the receiving yards there. Saquon got like other 30%. Dallas Goedert got like the final 10. Now we go over to the Rams. They got Puka, Cooper Kupp. They're doing what they do. Kupp gets 8 catches, 60 yards here and a TD. Puka Nacua, 9 catches, 117 yards here. Elite duo here. Matthew Stafford 243 passing yards, 2 TDs. That other TD went to Demarcus Robinson. So Demarcus Robinson's a really solid red zone threat. Kyron Williams on the ground, 16 carries, 72 rushing yards, and a TD. He also did fumble, though. He fumbled twice. One of those he did lost courtesy of Zach Bond, who is not many people are talking about him. But if I had to put in a ballot right now for Defensive Player of the Year, it's not really that high numbers of sacks where, normally sack leaders are closer to 20 or so. Zach Bond is putting up a tremendous season. He would be my personal pick for Defensive Player of the Eagles. So, I think we got one of the top defenses now. The first month of the season, not so great, but I think the past 2 months we have been balling and producing. I think you got to look into Zach Bond for Defensive Player of the Year. But that will end the review for this game. And I thought this game was really good, very entertaining. I'm giving it a 77 out of 100. And now we're going on to our next game, which is the Monday Night Football game. And this one probably has the real MVP on it. I know I said Saquon the real MVP. I put on the cover title and all that. We know it's an MVP award that is gifted to quarterbacks. And I think Lamar is going back-to-back like Drizzy Drake. He got the drink in him. He's going back-to-back. The Ravens win this game 30-23. Lamar is having, I think, probably the best season of his career. You could go back to his first unanimous MVP season. That one was a great one as well. We had to see what this one looks like when it's all said and done. But he does not turn the ball over. All his interceptions weren't his fault. Right? I'm not even trying to glaze this man or anything like that. All those interceptions, I can say, not really your fault. It got tipped at the line. Your wide receiver should have caught it. One of those Lamar been taking great care of the ball, and he is so dynamic. We know what he can do with his legs. So he's a matchup nightmare. We will be playing this team soon. And I got some Ravens fans. If they want to take some bets on the game, I'll take some bets on the game. Trust me, the Eagles will beat them when it's all said and done. But we're going to see who's the Offensive Player of the Year between Saquon and Derrick Henry. Who's the MVP, Saquon or Lamar, right? Saquon's in the conversation of both. I think Derrick Henry's just in the conversation of Offensive Player of the Year. No disrespect to him. But let's go ahead and dive into this game here with the Ravens and the Chargers. The Ravens won this game 30-23. This was for the higher wild card spot at the time. So both these teams are fine for that wild card positioning. And the Ravens, we look at Derrick Henry here, 140 rushing yards. So he saw what Saquon did the night previously on Sunday night. He knew he had to go have a good game himself. 140 rushing yards on 24 carries. Lamar Jackson had a rushing TD. Only had 15 rushing yards on 8 carries, though. But we look at what he did passing-wise. 2 passing TDs, 177 passing yards. Again, 0 fumbles, 0 interceptions. Takes great care of the ball here. Wide receiver-wise, Mark Andrews, he's getting it going as the season goes on. He gets 5 catches, 44 yards, and a TD. Rashad Bateman gets the other TD. He finishes with 2 catches, 43 yards, in that TD. Longest play, 40-yard TD for him. Justice Hills had another big play. He had a 51-yard rushing TD. He finished the game with 55 total yards, so that rushing TD is pretty much all he did. 55 rushing yards, so that 51 rushing yard TD is all he did. And then we go over to the Chargers side. Justin Herbert goes for 218 passing yards, 0 passing TD, 0 interception. I expected a little bit of a better game here by Herbert because the Ravens' pass defense isn't that great. We look at the wide receiver for the Chargers. Lat McConkey goes for 6 receptions, 83 yards. So Lat McConkey is without doubt the number 1 wide receiver for this team, and he is balling. So the sky's the limit for this guy. He's having such an elite rookie year. They can line him inside and outside. So Lat McConkey is a dog. Now we look at the rushing wise. What they got here, Gus Edwards. He gets a TD late in the game that cut it down to 1 possession. He had 9 carries, 11 yards, 1 TD. His longest carry was an 8-yarder. So not really much going on the ground there with Gus Edwards. J.K. Dobbins though did have 6 carries for 40 yards. So a little bit better there by J.K. Dobbins. But overall, the final score was 30-23. I thought this game was good, but barely. I'm giving it a 70 out of 100. Came down to the Chargers trying to need an onside kick and stuff, but I was never really too worried about the Ravens losing this one. But so that will conclude this review. Now, if you made it this far in the video, type giveaway in the comment section down below. I'm trying to give away $10 to somebody that makes it this far in the video and types giveaway. So If you do that, you get $10. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. I hope to see you guys on the next one coming out tomorrow.